You order a coffee, £4.20. The person behind the counter, perfectly friendly, spins the iPad round to face you. 15%, 20, 25, and there's a queue behind you, and they're sort of watching. So you tap 20 because you're not a monster, and then you spend the next 3 minutes wondering if that was right, and why you just paid a fifth on top of a drink that was already £4.20. Now picture a different one. You're at a self-checkout machine, no human involved. You scanned your own shopping, you bagged it yourself, and the screen, the machine, asks if you'd like to leave a tip. For who? The machine? The software company? The ghost of the cashier it replaced? Here's what I want you to see today. That tip isn't really about generosity. It's the visible end of a system, over a century old, that quietly trained you to pay someone else's wages without ever realizing that's what you were doing. And now that system has spread onto screens where nobody even served you. Where it came from is genuinely dark. Why it survived comes down to one number that hasn't moved since 1991. And where it's heading should worry anyone with a card and a conscience. This is the secret economics of everyday things. Tipping didn't start in America. It started in Europe. Wealthy Americans traveling abroad in the 1800s picked it up from aristocrats, brought it home, and did it to show off. Look at me, I've been to Paris, I tip. But then it collided with something much darker. After the Civil War, tipping spread through American hospitality, and not out of generosity. The industry had just been told it could no longer own people, and it went looking for the cheapest possible version of what it had lost. Newly freed black workers were hired, and in many cases paid no wage at all. The customer's tip was meant to be the entire income. The railway company that ran the luxury sleeper carriages famously hired black porters on exactly that understanding. Tips, not wages. The business got the labor close to free, and you, the customer, got to feel generous for covering it. And people at the time saw it for what it was. There was a real anti-tipping movement in America in the 1890s. Campaigners called tipping un-American. Several states actually passed laws banning it, because to them it wasn't manners. It was a way of making the customer cover a wage the employer refused to pay. That movement lost, obviously. You've tipped 3 times this week. But the machinery underneath it survived completely intact. The core idea that the customer, not the boss, is responsible for the worker's pay. And that idea got locked into law by a single number. Here's a number that hasn't changed since the Spice Girls were in the charts. $2.13. That is the federal tipped minimum wage in the United States. It was set in 1991. It has not been raised once since. Let that sit. The normal minimum wage has gone up several times. Rent, food, fuel, all up. But if you work for tips in much of America, your employer can legally pay you $2.13 an hour and make up the rest from strangers' goodwill. Now, in fairness, the picture varies. Many states set a higher tipped minimum than the federal floor, so it's not $2.13 everywhere. And the law says if tips don't bring you up to the full minimum wage, the employer must cover the gap. But in practice, that safety net leaks badly. One major enforcement effort by the U.S. Department of Labor found wage violations in the large majority of the restaurants it investigated. Workers often don't complain because complaining costs you your shifts. So look at what's really happening. You walk in thinking your tip is a reward for good service. The employer is paying as little as the law allows, and the worker is hoping you're in a good mood because their rent depends on it. You're not leaving a tip. You're topping up a wage the business decided not to pay. And the scale of that is enormous. Studies estimate American restaurant workers receive something like $47 billion in tips a year. That's $47 billion in labor costs quietly shifted off company payrolls, onto you. Now, if you're in the UK thinking, that's an American problem, the screen has arrived here too, and it's running the exact same psychology on you. Let's talk about that iPad, because none of it is accidental. Studies have found that when there's a tip screen in front of you, rather than an old cash jar, people tip meaningfully more. Just the presence of the screen changes your behavior, and the preset buttons do a lot of the work. When the screen offers 15, 20, 25, you pick from that menu. You don't type in 10. The options have quietly set the floor, and notice they've been creeping upward for years. Then there's the choreography. The screen swivels toward you at the exact moment of payment. Not before, not after. The staff member is right there. The queue is building. Every second you hesitate, the social pressure rises. You're not making a calm financial decision. You're managing 3 seconds of mild social panic. And here's the small one that gets me. The tip percentage is often calculated on the total, after tax. So you can end up tipping a percentage of the government's tax, a little reward for the tax man. And the companies that make these payment systems, their fee is a percentage of the transaction. A bigger tip is a bigger transaction, which is more money for them. So the people designing the screen that nudges you upward profit every time it works. If this is getting under your skin, good. A like genuinely helps push this to people who think they've got tipping figured out. And you can subscribe for more. Right, back to it. Because so far this is all coffee shops and restaurants, places where a person actually served you. But the screen has started showing up somewhere it has no business being at all. The tip prompt was built for restaurants and bars, places with table service, but it's escaped. You now get asked to tip at self-service frozen yogurt shops, where you poured it, weighed it, and served yourself. At airport shops, where you took a bottle of water out of a fridge. Even on some websites at checkout, where you bought a t-shirt and it asked if you'd like to tip the warehouse team. And who is the warehouse team? Do they get it? Is your Fiverr split across 12 people in a distribution center? Nobody really knows. And that's the giveaway. The prompt is there because the software ships with it switched on by default, and the company that makes the software earns a cut whether anyone served you or not. And then there's the self-checkout kiosk, where the whole thing collapses in on itself. You scan the items, you bag them. You are, at that moment, doing the employee's job. And the machine still asks you to tip. Tip who? You? There's a name for this now, tip creep. The prompt spreading into places where nobody performed a service. And there's a name for how people feel about it, tip fatigue. Surveys show a large share of people now feel worn down by it, and fewer feel they should tip on screens than a year ago. The thing being sold to you is gratitude. What's actually happening is a payroll system trying to attach itself to every transaction it can reach. And recently, one viral moment turned that quiet resentment into a national argument. And it's a genuinely useful example, precisely because of what we can and can't prove about it. A customer at a Shake Shack kiosk filmed himself placing an order, hitting no tip, and the total appeared to go up. A shake that had been $5.99, showing as $6.49. He posted it, and it went massively viral, because it looked like the machine had punished him for not tipping. Now, here's where I have to be straight with you because it matters. That clip does not actually prove what it looks like. The price change could have been the machine's tip calculation, a scheduled menu update, or a glitch that happened to land at that second. No internal logs or company documents have surfaced to confirm the machine deliberately charged him more for declining. Shake Shack hasn't confirmed any such policy. But here's why it struck such a nerve, and why it belongs in this story even unproven. Because it's now completely plausible. We already know these systems can adjust prices in real time. We know the software is built to maximize the transaction. So when a no-tip tap seems to make the price jump, millions of people instantly believed it. Not because they saw the code, but because it fits everything they already suspect about how these screens work. That's the real point. Whether or not that one machine did it on purpose, we've built a world where it's entirely believable that declining to tip could quietly cost you more. And a system that makes that believable has already changed its relationship with you. So step back and look at the whole machine. It began as a way to avoid paying freed workers a wage. It got locked in place by a number frozen since 1991. It got supercharged by payment screens designed to nudge you upward, built by companies that profit from every extra percent. And it is now spread far beyond the restaurant, onto kiosks and websites where nobody served you at all. The tip you left yesterday wasn't really a reward for service. It was a wage. And the person who was supposed to pay it wasn't you. So the next time a screen swivels round and asks, you'll see the real question underneath it. Who's actually supposed to be paying this person? And why has it landed on me? Tell me in the comments, what's the strangest place a screen has ever asked you for a tip? A self-checkout? A website? A vending machine? Be honest. I want to see how far this thing is spread. See you in the next one.